Hello there, hi. I'm Tracie O'Keefe, naturopath, and I'm here with Barbra James, who has a very interesting health story. Hello there, Barbara, hi.
Hi, Tracie. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me today and agreeing to share your story. And
No worries.
let's just begin with, what age are you?
I'm 68. I'll be 69 in October.
Okay. And are you retired?
Yeah.
What did you do for a living?
I was a high school English teacher.
Okay.
And I retired, back in 2003. No, 2006. Yeah.
So what age would have you been then?
I have to do the maths. So 2006 from 20, what's that?
It's about 14 years, 2006. Yeah, about 14 years ago. So when you're about 56?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And you have an interesting health story, and you had a diagnosis. Tell me what the diagnosis was and how it was explained to you.
Okay, well, back in 2003, I started having some strange kind of sensations, and one of which was a sort of a shoulder that would jump, like jumping shoulder, I used to call it. And it was a bit alarming because it was quite a lot. It wasn't just a tick, it was quite a lot. Anyway, so I went to the doctor and he said, well, you better go have some tests. So I went and had an MRI and an LED and those sorts of tests, and a lumbar puncture and, all those sort of things. And anyway, it came back saying that it looked like I had multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
And I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. Yeah, couldn't believe it, because I'd always been so healthy. But I guess it made a bit of sense because of the nature of the sensations that I was having. They seemed quite neurological. They were kind of just not feeling right in myself, and feeling off balance a bit, and losing sensation. So yeah.
And how was it explained to you what it was?
I can't remember now. I remember him giving me some articles and so on to read, but I was so blown away by what he said that I can't actually remember now how he explained it to me. But being a teacher, I'm a research fanatic, so obviously I researched it inside out and discovered that it was where the linings of the myelin sheath on the outside of your nerve fibers has been damaged.
Yes.
And that causes like a poor connection between the muscles and the brain.
So you were about 54 when you were diagnosed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And before that time, did you have any stress in your life?
Yes. Yeah. I'd fairly recently been through a very, very, very traumatic relationship, which ended up in a divorce. Yeah. And I mean, I'd been divorced before because I've been married twice, but the second one was really traumatic. Yeah.
And what treatment were you saw a neurologist, I'm guessing. And what
Yeah.
And what treatment was prescribed for you?
They prescribed me it's called Avonex, which was like a interferon, and it was, I would inject it into my thigh once a week.
Yes.
And that was pretty full on.
And what did they tell you the prognosis was? What would happen to you?
Well, they basically implied that I would go downhill. You know, there would be a gradual progression, and the interferon treatment doesn't cure it, but it could possibly aid with, you know, a lesser further involvement of the disease. So I thought, oh well, that's what they're prescribing, and it was very, very strongly prescribed that I take it. So I thought, oh well, that's all I can do. So I did. Interestingly enough, at the time though, I was also prescribed a mega dose of vitamin D, which I still take, and I've been taking since then, like every 3 months. It's mixed up by a compounding chemist, and I just drink it. You know, it's just a liquid. I don't have to inject it or anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So I took those injections once a week for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years, yeah, 4 years. And after that time, I just decided that I just couldn't do it anymore. It was too intrusive into my life. I was feeling so bad because you get what they call flu-like symptoms, which is a really interesting way to describe them. But yeah, you basically feel like absolute garbage every week, like you're getting the flu.
After the injection?
Yeah, after the injection.
Okay.
Without fail.
Okay.
That would happen every time.
Okay.
And I get migraines anyway, so I would always get a headache. So not only did I have my baseline migraines, but I would get the headaches from the treatment. And so and so teaching was very, very difficult under those circumstances.
And you say you took the interferon medication for 4 years. What did you change after that?
I just stopped it, everything. Yeah, I went to see him and I said, look, I can't do this anymore. It's just, you know, A, I don't know if it's doing any good anyway, and B, it's just too intrusive into my lifestyle. And he said, yep, and he checked me out and said, well, you don't seem to have had any progression up to this point, so yeah, don't take it anymore. So I didn't.
And did you make any other changes in your life?
I was already, I've always been like a fitness fanatic.
Yes.
I've always been, I used to, when I was younger, I used to do a lot of ballet and yoga and things like that. And then at the same time that I got the diagnosis, I was actually doing weight training quite seriously. Okay. Yes. And I was a bodybuilder. And so I was very, very conscious of nutrition and body image and, all of those things. And so, but when when I got the diagnosis, I felt so bad that, you know, while I was taking the interferon, that it just slowed me down so much and made me feel so sick that, you know, my health suffered. It suffered from the cure, not the disease. If you
so
see
you
what I
got
mean.
worse with the medication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happened when you stopped taking the medication?
I felt a lot better. Yeah. I felt a lot better. Yeah, I really did. But I was still getting very tired. I think that it's known as MS fatigue. They seem to call it, where you get very, very more tired than just tired. You know, it's like a real fatigue. So I was still getting that.
And did you go back to looking after your body as you did before?
Yeah, I stopped going to the gym because I found that one of the things that I did, I mean, I didn't get very many symptoms at all from MS, but I did notice that, and I still notice that heat really does have an effect, and because if your core body temperature gets too high, it affects the nerve transmission, and because there's that scarring on the myelin sheath, then that just makes the whole system, it almost like short circuits it. So you when you get really, really, really hot, it's like you just feel like you're going to die. I mean, you don't, but yeah, it's horrible.
What about dietary? Did you make any dietary changes?
Not at the time, because I was at the time vegetarian. Yes. So, and that was, you know, I'd been vegetarian most of my adult life, I guess. But I did stop working. I think that made a huge difference. I stopped teaching because that was just too stressful. I couldn't do it. And then I moved to Sydney in about 2013 and got away from that stressful personal stuff that was going on, and at the time, my daughter at the time had gone vegan, and I always thought that was very interesting, but I didn't take it up myself because I just didn't think about it very much. And then I'm such a research crazy person that I loved the idea of it, and so I really got into it then. Yeah.
And did that make any difference for you?
Well, it's interesting. I've been thinking about it since I knew I was coming on to your program, and I really do think it has, because I'm not saying that this is why I haven't had any progression, but I'll just tell you anyway. I've had absolutely no progression in my MS since I was diagnosed.
Wow.
So that's like 17 years or something. And that's, I don't know of many other people that's happened to. I mean, I tell people that and they go, what? You know, that must be some kind of record. Yeah. So I don't know if it's just dormant but the damage is still there, because you can see it because I've had MRIs, because they don't believe me, so they wanted me to have another MRI. But yeah, no more damage. the scarring's there, but and so I think there's no more progression, but also I've noticed that I don't seem to have, since I've been vegan, I've noticed that I don't get the energy drops that I used to get. Yeah, when I was before because they were really bad when I was after I was diagnosed with MS. In the afternoon or whatever it was, I can't remember, early evening or something, I would just get absolutely exhausted, and that doesn't happen anymore.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of it is about the fats. The fats are animal products are they're saturated fats, and they can be really quite exhausting to the gastrointestinal system. And they, of course, they don't process, because monosaturated fats process earlier in the small intestine, but the apertures for absorbing fats are not big enough for the saturated fats, so they go in through the intestine further on, and they tend to form leaky gut. They push their way through the gut wall, and then you have all sorts of toxins going into the blood system that shouldn't be there. And it's interesting that you say that with MS, because I have seen similar cases before where people have gone vegan and they said, well, nobody ever mentioned that to me as an option in treatment. So you've had no progression.
No.
And now your energy levels are more even.
Yeah.
And you have a lower stress life.
Yes.
Sounds like the perfect healing recipe, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it really does. But I really stick to the vitamin D, because I think that's very important. I do think that there's a link between, there's a lot of study being done on the links between vitamin D and MS. So, yeah, I do that. Not that I notice, like, I take vitamin D and all of a sudden I feel wonderful. It's not like that. But just thinking what else I've noticed. The other thing I've noticed too is with the with those episodes with the heat that I used, that were really quite debilitating at times, that I used to get. This is before I went vegan. I would just, like, quite often just like, how can I put it? Just sort of spiral down really, really quickly. And it would take a long time to recover from. I'd have these little sort of episodes if I got hot. And this could be in the middle of winter, like if I was inside a really overheated room, for example. But after I went vegan, I've noticed that that's not happening so much. Like, if I do get hot, I might feel a little bit strange for a bit, but it doesn't overwhelm me like it used to.
Yes, it's very interesting, because the animal proteins and the animal fats, they can interfere with your hormone level and your heat regulation in your hypothalamus. So that really, nutritionally wise, does make perfect sense. So you think you'll stay vegan?
Oh yeah. No, there's no reason to. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, and I'm pretty strict too. I'm not a cheap vegan. I make my, I prepare all my own food. pretty much. I don't bake bread, but I make pretty well everything, and I don't cheat, and that's just the way I am. It's my bodybuilding background,
Yes.
I'm very, very disciplined with stuff like that. So, but no, I'll definitely stay vegan for sure.
So you think it's extended your life and given you a better quality of life?
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah. There's lots of reasons, like everybody's got for going vegan, I think, but apart from the obvious ones of, better for the planet, better for the animals, better for your health, all of those things. But one of the things for me, given the fact that I have had, in a way, a sort of a brush with death, in a sense, in getting that diagnosis. Yes. Anyway, I've always been quite committed to doing whatever I can to live as long as possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I think a vegan lifestyle really does contribute to that. Mm.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your story. It's been wonderful to hear.
No problem.
And your sounds as if you're going to have many more decades the way you're going.
Well, I'm certainly planning to, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tracie. Bye.
Thank you. And I was talking to Barbra James about her taking control of her MS. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Barbra. That was wonderful.
Oh,
that was really good. And you know that when we do these things and people see them and they see someone who's gone before them and they think, well, that's interesting. Do you know Alan and Jeanette, the runners? Alan and Jeanette Murray-Wakeland, they're the couple that run around Australia, 366 marathons.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yeah.
And she was diagnosed with terminal cancer and given 6 months, probably about 18 years ago. And they tried to give her loads of radio and chemo and told her she'd be really sick when she had it. And she refused it, and she went out running and more and more and more, and the whole family changed their diet to support her. And of course she's still running. She must be 70 now. She's
and I think the other thing too that I was going to mention, I forgot to mention, that I think inflammation, because like MS is a lot to do with inflammation, like many diseases, I guess. So, and I think the vegan diet is much more gentle in terms of inflammation.
It's
so I think that's
anti-inflammatory, yeah.
Yes,
which fits in. I'll put that in the information below the YouTube posting. But it is, you're absolutely right. It really is about inflammation, particularly neurological.
Yes.
And in the brain, particularly because many illnesses have symptoms in the brain with inflammation, and a vegan lifestyle has more antioxidants. And antioxidants bring down the inflammation. Yeah.
So I think that's a real factor.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'll let you know when it's posted and share it when it's posted.
Thank you. Thanks, Tracie.
See you.
Have a good day.